When Judith moved into her late father's farmhouse in rural Oregon, she wasn't seeking comfort. She wasn't even seeking closure. What she wanted, what she needed, was silence. After 40 years in a loud, bustling marriage, raising 3 children and holding together a fragile home, her husband's passing didn't feel like a loss. It felt like a sudden release, a drop of weights she didn't know she'd been carrying for decades. The farmhouse, left untouched since her father's death 10 years prior, was perched atop a small hill surrounded by pines, creaking stairs, and memories buried in floorboards. Judith had spent her summers there as a girl, riding bikes down dusty gravel roads, picking blueberries, brushing off sunburnt shoulders, and falling asleep to crickets and wind. Moving there at 68 wasn't practical. She knew that. Her children protested. "What if you fall? You'll be alone. Who will help with the snow?" But Judith had made up her mind. For the first time in her life, the decision was hers alone. The early days were quiet. She didn't unpack much. She kept a folding chair near the fireplace and used a single ceramic plate, one she found tucked in the kitchen's back cupboard. At night, she wore thick wool socks and read her father's old books under dim lamplight. She wasn't sure what she was looking for, only that the silence felt right. But something began to shift one morning when she noticed a small metal box under the loose floorboard in the upstairs bedroom. She wouldn't have found it had she not tripped on the creaky panel. It was her father's handwriting on the outside, scribbled in fading ink. "To Judith, when the time feels right." Inside were old letters. Dozens of them, yellowed with age, some postmarked as far back as 1951. They weren't addressed to her mother. They were addressed to someone named Rose. The handwriting was elegant, full of longing and restraint. She didn't recognize the name, but the words were undeniably her father's. What followed in the weeks to come was a slow, aching unraveling. Judith read every letter. Some were love letters, others confessions. Some were never sent, torn at the edges, rewritten, forgotten. Her father had loved someone else. Not instead of her mother, but alongside. Quiet, respectful love. One that didn't demand anything. Judith found herself weeping, not out of betrayal, but out of the strange beauty of it all. She began writing again, something she hadn't done since college. Thoughts flowed from her in long, slow sentences. Memories of her father. The weight of marriage. The way her husband's voice always dominated a room, even when he meant well. She thought of Rose. She thought of herself. She wondered if perhaps we all had a Rose tucked somewhere in the corners of our lives. Someone we chose not to choose but never forgot. The door to the attic, long sealed, now called to her. She opened it one cloudy morning, expecting dust and shadows. Instead she found a painting. Large, unfinished. A woman in a red coat, standing beside a river. It was signed with her father's initials. Tucked beside the canvas was another letter. "I never finished her face," it said, "because I wanted to remember her in motion, always turning away, always almost here." That night, Judith dreamed she was standing by the same river, her hair down, barefoot in the cool water. When she woke, she felt more alive than she had in years. She began painting. Slowly, with trembling hands at first, then more confidently. Her fingers remembered the motion. Brush to canvas. Her own face. Her mother's garden. A red coat. A rushing river. She painted what she saw in dreams, what she remembered from childhood, what she imagined her father must have longed for. Her children visited reluctantly at first, worried by her sudden silence and absence from the city. But when they arrived, they found a woman changed. Not younger but lighter. Judith smiled more. She told stories. She cooked without a recipe. She gifted them small paintings. One of a girl running through a blueberry patch, another of a cottage window framed in autumn gold. One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Judith stood outside her front door, painting easel by her side, the wind in her white blouse. A breeze caught her hair as she locked the door behind her, turning toward the trees. She whispered almost to herself, "I locked the door, but he had the key," and she smiled because she finally understood. Her father hadn't left her riddles. He'd left her a map. Not just to Rose. To freedom. To silence. To herself.